Hi everybody, this is a short video to show you an important concept that you'll need to know for your journals, which is a new German word, the Gesamtkunstwerk. And it sounds very fancy, but this slideshow is going to take us through what it is and hopefully explain it and show you some cool uses of this term. So let's jump right into it. So the Gesamtkunstwerk is a work of art that makes use of all or many art forms or strives to do so. Now, we have heard this term once before at the very beginning of the year because the big project from last year was part of this Gesamtkunstwerk project. And it's from a familiar guy. So Richard Wagner is the man who created the Gesamtkunstwerk. Now this is him right here. And he is an opera composer, wrote some of the most famous music of all time. He was a master musician, and he created what we know him from in classes. He created those leitmotifs that we use in stories and music. You know, the characters' theme music that would accompany them when they came onto the stage. He created that idea as well. Now Wagner created the Gesamtkunstwerk because he thought his operas were so much better than other operas that were being written at the time, and so he had to create a whole new word to describe his operas. They were more grandiose than operas before him, and they had better scripts, and they had better music, and the costumes were more elaborate, and the staging was more complex. And so he really felt that his operas were different. So he created this term, Gesamtkunstwerk, which literally translates to all everything artwork, or all-encompassing artwork, or all artworks in one. And so he created this term to describe his own works. He was kind of bragging, but we've taken it and ran with it. Here are some examples of just the sort of magnificence of his work. So he wrote all of these stories of fantasy and adventure and romance and betrayal and monsters and demons and ghosts and spirits, all kinds of crazy things. The Ring Cycle, in fact, is what The Lord of the Rings is loosely based off of, and he uses leitmotifs very well in this Ring Cycle, and all of his operas really have, the characters have their own sort of theme music, but he not only wrote the music, but he wrote the script, and he wrote the staging, and he would do the choreography. He did everything, and so he's really an amazing musical creative genius. So let's see sort of what this is like to see a Wagnerian opera. This is from the Ring Cycle, from the very first opera in the Ring Cycle. It's 4 operas, and Rheingold is the first one, sort of the gold in the Rhine River. And this is sort of what it's like. Let's see.
In the opening scene, winds all through the prelude try to keep the sound present, but not beefy and solid, but so we hear all the lines and we hear them this way. That always means with airspace between them, with a certain transparency to them.
Good luck, guys.
One of the most extraordinary things in The Ring is the very beginning of it, which begins with first just the note of E flat. The sound that Wagner found very elemental. It actually keeps playing for almost 200 measures, but then it starts diversifying. We hear other notes in the triad, related notes, and then we have a chord, and then that chord engenders other chords, and it becomes more elaborate.
The choice of what's going to be the opening has to be extremely sensitive and extremely hypnotic. So for me, it was important that we discover something very rigid, very old-fashioned, like people perceive opera is. And that the first thing it does is a very sensuous, curvy move. Almost like a lullaby, like those first few notes are. Because actually there are notes that came into his sleep and that kind of rocked him into writing this. It's an hypnotic system that slowly builds up and gathers you and grabs you and pulls you into the story.
So we can talk about what is a Gesamtkunstwerk. It's really a work of art that encompasses all kinds of art forms, really tries to make use of all of them, whether it's music or literature, poetry, stagecraft, the traditional art forms of drawing and painting, or dance. All of these art forms come together, and in something like an opera, you really have all of them. You have music, you have dance, you have literature, you have stagecraft and traditional art forms like painting and drawing. You have all that coming together into one thing, and I hope you can see that here. Let's see the rest of this.
You can't perceive it really at the beginning, and then eventually it grows on you, and then you want it to happen.
Clarinets a little more.
And then it gets bigger, and then it swells like water swells, and then the music swells, and everything swells, and the ideas swells. And when you see these women come out, this wave of comes into the room. So you have to follow that. And it's very easy when you're not the one that writes the music, because you just have to follow. You have a guide.
Then all of a sudden, when you think it's gone as far as it can, it just kind of goes up a notch, and we hear a human voice, Rhine Maiden.
The set has good acoustic.
And she's saying nonsense words
Flutes.
at first, and then they become words. And then she talks to her sisters, and then we're in the drama. It just all happens organically in 4 minutes, where myth and science and religion all come together. It's all there in the first 4 minutes of Das Rheingold. And that's kind of the richness of the Ring. That keeps up for another 4 nights.
Okay. Excellent. Let's get out of here. So you can see how elaborate his operas really were. This has got to be 20 stage hands all working these big machines to move this set piece. So his operas really were a next level. So he had to create that new term, Gesamtkunstwerk. So what are all the art forms that you could combine into one thing? Well, music, of course, this is a music class. Visual art, painting or drawing. There's dance or sculpture, creating something with your hands. Architecture, to build and design a structure. Poetry or literature, the art of writing and creating story. And then photography, taking pictures of things. That's a newer art form. And then performance art, which is kind of the art of performing something out loud, making it really a performance of just an artistic something. That would be performance art. I hope you can see how Wagner's operas really put all of this together. And people have taken this idea of the Gesamtkunstwerk and they've made more modern versions like musicals or um, um, movies that are sort of musical theater type movies, or even regular films are usually almost always Gesamtkunstwerks, or music videos. These are all more modern versions of this idea. So Wagner has influenced a lot of people along the way to create things that we like to watch and have at home, or enjoy as a more modern take. So this is a really important idea, and you will need to understand this idea and be able to talk about it. What is a Gesamtkunstwerk? A work of art that makes use of all or many art forms or strives to do so. And you'll need to talk about that in your journals. So let's take a look at just one of these journals where you might need to talk about this idea. So let's see, Wednesday, April 1st. Here's a journal. Watch the video below and answer the questions. What is the primary art form in this video? Why do you feel that this is the most important art form in this video? So what's the main art form? Is it music? Is it photography or filmmaking? Is it dance? What is the primary art form? Or maybe one that is even more in depth. Let's see. Here's watch the video below and answer the questions. What art forms are present in this video, Gesamtkunstwerk? List as many as you can, and then write a short description of how each art form from your list was used in the video. So that's pretty in-depth. So you're going to have to understand this idea of the Gesamtkunstwerk and what it is for your journals for this time that we're away. Again, your journals are in modules, or they should be sent to you as an assignment every day that we have class. So that's kind of it. Let's see, am I still down here? Yes. I am really excited to show you these cool videos and work with this idea of the Gesamtkunstwerk and continue to study Wagner, who was a really interesting composer and musical idea maker. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I do, because the videos that we're going to see for the journals are really cool, and some of the stuff that he's created is very cool. So I'm excited for you to start going on that.